Namaste students, I am Madhu Chaudhary and I welcome you all in my 10th class economics. The name of my chapter is Sectors of Indian Economy and this is the second part of this chapter. In our previous chapter students, in our previous video, we have already discussed about various sectors of economy, that is primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. Now, the question is that how can we count the various goods and services and how do we know the total production of each sector? Okay, let's see what is the meaning of gross domestic product, or in short we can say what is GDP. Before proceeding this, let's firstly clarify the total production of each sector. What was its mean? Let's see. Students, the value of final goods and services produced in each sector during a particular year provides the total production of the sector for that year is known as GDP. Let's clarify the value of final goods and services. So what is final goods and services? It means which are ready to be used by consumer. Let's see through one example. Let's take the example of car. When the car was not ready, okay, so here let's discuss about its manufacturing stage of car. When the manufacturer was gathering various parts so that he can form the car, right? He was gathering steel from somewhere, then he was gathering steering wheel from somewhere else, and then he was gathering mirror from somewhere else. Okay, so that he can perform a car. At that time the car was in intermediate stage, or we can say that car was in intermediate intermediate good, because the car was not ready to use, right? But later when the car was ready in the showroom, that time the car was ready to used by consumer, then this car was known as final good. Clear? It means it is the value of all final goods and services produced within the country during a particular year. And sum of the production in the three sectors gives us GDP of the country. GDP, gross domestic product. Okay. In the earlier definition, we have discussed the total production of the sector for that year means of a sector, right? But we are having three sectors, that is primary sector, then tertiary sector, then secondary sector. Then the sum of production in the three sectors gives GDP of that country. We have already discussed that that thing. Okay, now what is interdependency of sectors? It means how does these three sectors are interdependent on each other. Let's see. Students, let's take the example of sugarcane. When it was sown, it was under primary sector. Then these sugarcane were needed to be transported from the farm to the factories. Then the transforming of this sugarcane to the factory, that works comes under tertiary sector, right? In the factory, sugar was extracted from the sugarcane and it was manufactured into different goods, right? So all the time of manufacturing, at the time of manufacturing, it came under secondary sector. Clear? So finally we can say that the goods which are produced in the farm, if they are to be used by secondary sector, that is manufacturing sector, then they need help, and this help provided by tertiary sector, right? In this way we can say that all these sectors, that is primary, secondary and tertiary sectors, are interdependent on each other. Clear? Let's see what are the historical changes in the sectors of these three stages. Let's talk about the initial stage. If we talk about the initial stage, then after observing the changes, there have been come in the development pattern of the sector. It can be found that in the initial stage of the development, the primary sector was the most important sector of economic activity, as the method of farming changed and agriculture sector begins to prosper. It produced much more food than before, and many people could take up many other activities, which led to the increase in number of activities. However, at this stage, most of the goods produced were natural products from the primary sector. Hence most people were employed in this sector. Okay, if we talk about the second stage, over a long time, more than it means it can be taken more than 100 years, students, because new methods of manufacturing were introduced. Factories came up and started expanding. People begins to work in factories in large numbers, and also people started using factories good in large number as they were cheap. Okay, secondary sectors gradually became the most important in total production, and employment is there. There was a shift, and the importance of the sectors also changed. And if we talk about the third stage, in the past hundreds, there have been a further shift from secondary to tertiary sector in the developed countries. Okay, the services sectors has become the most important in terms of total production, and most of the working people are also employed in service sectors. So I hope all these things are clear to you, students. Thank you very much.